Welcome back to Lost Odyssey. So, time to explore Numara.
It looks like a greener version of Radiant Garden.
Again, it's a typical in like when it comes to water-themed cities, typically JRPG. Oh.
You handled your role well.
Oh.
My role? Why do you keep saying that?
Your Highness, we should now be able to achieve our objective. Let them
Oh
loose and follow
snap!
them
The
to
queen
truth.
was evil all along.
No.
When we have proof they
Like,
work
I
for
know
the
she's
enemy,
probably
we'll
playing
lock
him
them
just
up
as
again.
much as he thinks he's
They'll give us
playing
excellent
her.
leverage
It's more
in
so,
negotiations
you'll see.
with Ura. And beyond the negotiations, we stand to gain.
Yeah, this guy's basically the one in charge, really.
Grand Staff?
Ura,
Like,
built
I
a
imagine
gigantic
she
magic
knows
engine
he's
called
using
Grand
her,
Staff. And we suspect
so,
their
you know,
plotting
she's
something.
probably playing
Right
along.
now, Ura poses a terrible threat to the entire world.
Do they really?
Well, as he mentioned, yes.
Confirmed that the tragedy at Wool Highlands is connected in some way to Grand Staff.
Huh. How about that? The ending of one war may be leading us to another war.
Repeated again at any time. The authorities in our military have voted unanimously to seize Ura as a preventative measure.
You plan to start a war?
Yeah, in case he wasn't really particularly, well explained, these nations so far has remained neutral in the conflict between the nation, where Kaim and the others came from, and the opposite one at the beginning of the
I
game.
won't allow it.
But now that opportunity strikes, they figure, let's take our piece of the pie.
Approve these safety measures. In this present magic industrial revolution, your majesty's isolationist policy is pushing the nation to its limit.
National isolation promotes peace.
Does it really?
This new regime has been created for the sake of world peace. We shall spread your majesty's teachings using our nation's military
Camera!
You think
Well, it's to showcase her hand. Like, it's typical in anime to see a shot of the hand so that we can see her clenching her hand and shit like that.
If that were to happen,
Yeah, but that
the
was a
people
full-on
who
ass
so
shot.
adore you
Almost Toriyama took over.
I'm gonna have to disagree. I mean, yeah, her ass technically isn't shot, but it's just because they were trying to focus on the hand, honestly. People,
Also, holy cow,
people have asses, whatever.
all over the world.
I mean, I'm not saying it like, oh, that's automatically taboo. It's just, God, that thing looked like it was riding up uncomfortably, like a wedgie. So maybe she's not as smart as I gave her credit for if
Whoa.
she really fell for that. Wait,
Figureheads. They should just keep
Politicians, am I right?
huh. You know, I'll admit, I thought that she was secretly smart. Wait, hold on. Maybe she faked that. Or-
Remember, she
Nope.
did fake the being asleep when Jensen roofied her. So
Yeah. Well, as you're going to learn later, Ming is a master magician, so Jensen's magic is too weak for her. But she went along, like Theo just said, because she wanted to ascertain Jensen's true intentions.
That said, was the fainting there for real?
Supposedly, yes. The game doesn't really try to imply that it was fake.
So she's smart enough to see through Jansen, but I guess she wasn't wise enough to know when she was blatantly being used as a figurehead, and she honestly thought that nationalist isolationism would turn out with a good product.
Well,
Like,
Jova, I never tried to say that she was a good queen.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
When I grow up,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna be a mercenary. Why? Oh, come on, aren't they just so cool? My mom says I gotta help out in the shop, but forget about that. If I was a mercenary, I'd be 1,000,000 times more famous than a soldier. All the nations in the world would want me on their side. It'd be so awesome. I'd be
Also-
practically immortalized.
who was that NPC? Like,
Now,
okay,
he wanted to listen to the story too.
we were about to enter Lightning Returns level of NPC interrupting.
It wasn't quite on the same level, I'll argue. Anyway, today we'll do the ramparts will fall to the enemy. It is just a matter of time. They will mount their attack at dawn. The main body of the Allied forces has already drawn far back into the front from the front. Only the mercenaries are left behind the barricade. Their orders: defend it to the death. These men who have gone from battlefield to battlefield know exactly what that means. This stream is called the Talkative Mercenary.
Interesting.
Indeed, because usually mercenaries just don't usually are very talkative, so that should be interesting. Go ahead, Dubs, you can
Well, unless we're talking about the merc with a mouth.
They just left us here to die.
chuckles the one called Toma in darkness, too thick for a person to make out of his own hand.
They want us to buy time so the main force can pull further back. We're supposed to be their shield, performing our final service for our employer.
His dry, papery laugh shakes the darkness. Kaim says nothing in reply. Other mercenaries must be gathered there around them in the blackness, but all keep their thoughts to themselves. So yeah, this dream is actually quite a bit similar to the one with the jails that we've seen before. Mercenaries have nothing to say to each other on the battlefield. They might be on opposite sides in the next battle. At a time like this especially, when they have to defend the barricade against the enemy's withering attack, they can't spare the time even to look at each other's faces. Kaim knows nothing about this fighter called Toma. His voice sounds young. He probably has very little experience as a mercenary.
Noob.
Kaim's like, "Ah, fucking noobs." If a man grows talkative in the face of death, it means that deep down somewhere he has a weakness that prevents him from becoming a true soldier. A mercenary with even a hint of such weakness can never cheat death and live to see another day. It is the law of the battlefield, and a man like Toma will only learn that law in the moment before he loses his life. Which is why Cloud is constantly quiet and going, not interested.
Kill me now, I know.
Go ahead, Luz.
Okay. We're done for. Well, I'll be dead in the morning. We'll have that silent homecoming they talk about. I can't stand it. I just can't stand it!
In the darkness, no voices rise to second these sentiments. It's too late to talk like this. The day they chose the mercenaries' path was when they should have resigned themselves to death. They sell their lives for a little money. They prolong their lives a day at a time by taking the lives of one enemy after another. That's what a mercenary is. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, if you have any, experience in learning about, battles or play RTSs, the best tactics for mercenaries is to hire them, then kill them. So we don't have to pay them.
Go ahead, Lips.
Hey, can anybody hear me? How many of us are here? We're all gonna die together. We'll just be a line of corpses in the morning. Don't shut up! No answer me!
No one says a thing. Instead of voices, the silent darkness begins to fill with a tangible sense of annoyance. Wordlessly to gather on the battlefield, wordlessly to fight the enemy, and just as wordlessly to die. That is the rule of the mercenary, the aesthetic of the mercenary, if such an expression may be permitted. But Toma has taken upon himself to abandon that aesthetic.
That's against the rules.
Yeah, he's trying to defy... go ahead.
I knew it was hopeless from the start. Headquarters didn't know what they were doing. There was no way a strategy like that could work. You know what I'm talking about, don't you guys? We had to lose. It's a total mess. I wish to hell I'd joined the other side. Then we could have gotten a amount of the cash for winning. We could have drunk ourselves blind. We could have had all the women we wanted. I could have gone either way on this one, but I picked the wrong fucking side to fight on. Help!
Shut up!
You shut up!
At least I can take my dignity like a man.
Dignity? There is no dignity in death.
Hey, you! An older voice booms out of the darkness, an angry voice.
Yeah, what?
Answers Toma, his voice more vibrant now at having at last found someone willing to talk with him. As if to crush his momentary enthusiasm, the other man goes on. How about shutting up for a while? If you really want to run off at the mouth that much, I can send you to the next world a step ahead of the rest of us.
I'm sorry.
Instantly dejected, Toma falls silent and the darkness goes still again. The stillness is charged, however, with a deep tension, far deeper even than before Toma started talking. Awkward silence.
So, read any good books lately?
The veteran warriors know. Watch out for talkative men. Being talkative means trusting in words, trusting too much in words. Words are useless on the battlefield. You take up your weapon in silence, you steel yourself in silence, you fight in silence, and you kill the enemy, or he kills you, in silence. All the mercenaries here have lived this way. All but the talkative one. A soldier who clings too desperately to words may cling just as desperately to something else. To the sweet trap of betrayal, for example. Or the seduction of desertion under fire. Or the lure of madness.
Did Frank Miller took over for writing this passage?
I mean, those literally sound like soundtrack album titles. Holy
We were only
cow.
missing a couple of words written in bold to emphasize them.
Kaim has often seen pitiful mercenaries who, unable to endure the terror of being surrounded by the enemy, go berserk and attack men from their own side. Will Toma prove to be another such case? The possibility is great, and no doubt the other men are thinking the same thing too, especially with the way the voice actor is voicing him. In the stillness, they turn the same gazes toward Toma that they reserve for confrontations with the enemy, looking for any signs of change in his demeanor. The moment they perceive the slightest threat in him, a blade will soundlessly pierce the left side of his chest.
That way everyone wins.
I guess so.
We arguably come out alive and get some peace and quiet.
I mean, seems to work for me.
As long as it works.
The
And
si-
this way, Toma's worries can be put to
The
an
silence
end.
continues. Not even the usual all-night cries of insects can be heard tonight as they were last night. Perhaps the insects knew enough to clear out in advance of the enemy's dawn attack. The thought reminds Kaim that he saw no birds in the area yesterday either. Although animals came to snatch food when the men first built this fortification, there has been no sign of them for several days now. Animals have mysterious powers of foreknowledge that humans have lost. This becomes painfully obvious from any visit to a battlefield.
Don't you see? Stars don't twinkle, the moon don't shine. Birds don't sing, the moon don't glow.
There can be little doubt that the animals have turned their backs on this barricade. Right about now, in some distant forest, a huge flock of black birds may be taking wing in search of human corpses to strip of their flesh. It's feast time, boys! They already know somehow. Once the sun is fully up, the battle will be over. If they don't get here first, they'll lose their feast to flock from another forest, their black bodies hidden against the night sky. Those birds now are probably flying for all they're worth. Indeed.
Ah yes, the best quote from Artemis Fowl. It's feeding time.
A voice in the night. Toma's voice, weeping. Go ahead, Dos.
Listen, you guys, I don't know how many of you are out there, but we're all going to die in the morning. Or most of us. Maybe one or two live to escape, no more. Think about it. Those are lousy odds. You've all been through this before. You're veterans, war heroes, you're probably not scared. But even so, even if you're not scared, don't you think this is stupid? Huh? Tell me! You've been through a lot more battles than I have, so tell me! What the hell are we here for? We don't hate the enemy, we don't own the leaders on our side or anything, but we've got to kill the enemy and follow our leaders' orders. And we're still going to end up dead. Tell me, you guys. Don't you think it's pointless? Don't you think it's stupid?
What am I fighting for?
Literally. Literally. And the other guy's like, didn't I just tell you to shut the fuck up? The only response to Toma is the impatient click of a tongue in the darkness, followed by someone else's sigh of annoyance.
I can't take it any longer.
Says Toma. And now he is sobbing.
All I want was some money and maybe something better to me and maybe nicer clothes. I could have been happy with that. What a mistake I made, taking work like this.
Sheesh, what a Debbie Downer.
Kaim keeps all his senses open for movement in the night. Aside from himself and Toma, 5 other soldiers are crouching down in the darkness. Not bad. All are experienced warriors. They would have not been able to put up with Toma's whining otherwise. If they let themselves get angry and started shouting at him or grabbing him by the throat or wailing away at him, they would just end up consuming their strength and energy before their work, quote-unquote, started at dawn. If this is
Not worth it.
If this is an assemblage of men who know how to keep their silence, the chances for life are that much greater. Assuming that the talkative, weeping man does not become too great of a burden for the rest of them. Eventually one of them will crack, and Toma will get beaten to death.
For now, we conserve our strength, men.
Still sobbing, Toma continues to curse his fate. Suddenly, something is different. Something stirs in the silence.
This could be bad.
Kaim thinks, sharpening his attentiveness still more. When dawn breaks, Toma will get in our way. Sorry, that's you two, I think, isn't it?
It's
No,
not
it's
italicized.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's like
Yeah,
Kaim's
it's
thought
narration.
pattern.
Okay,
It's
because of him, the possibility of life will wither. The mercenaries know that, and because you know what, they might do whatever it takes to secure it for themselves, even the slightest added chance to live.
Oh boy.
Glibbs.
I don't want to die here, I tell you. Not now, not here like a worthless dog. You guys feel the same way, don't you?
Moonlight shines down from a rift in the clouds.
The mission yet.
For a split second, Thoma's tear-stained face appears in the darkness. He's even younger than Kaim imagined from the sound of his voice. He is practically a boy. The clouds hide the moon again, and thick black darkness enfolds everything once more.
So he's basically a child who got in over his head.
Basically, yeah.
What did trigger the memory drover?
Yep.
Well, maybe that kid will hopefully have a shot if he, goes into things well enough.
Without a word, Kaim darts wind-like toward it. He was able to gauge the distance between himself and Toma during the flash of moonlight. Kaim grabs Toma's arm. Something hard falls to the ground. The dull light flashes again, this time at their feet, and melts again into the darkness. A knife. Driven by the fear of death, Toma was trying to slit his own throat. Toma twists away and tries to free his arm from Kaim's grasp, but Kaim chops him in the solar plexus. Without uttering a sound, Toma passes out.
Finally, peace and quiet.
Oh god, thank you, Kaim. Now I can fucking sleep.
You owe me a beer.
You know what? For knocking him out, I'll give you 2 beers. Provided we survive, of course.
With Toma slung across his back, Kaim strides through the darkness. Eventually, Toma wakes and thrashes his legs to get loose. Sorry.
Stop it! Let me go!
Kaim lowers him to the ground.
Every once in a while the moon comes out. Check your direction when that happens. Go straight towards the setting moon.
Kaim says gently.
What the fuck are
Basically-
you talking about?
Look, to paraphrase Milan, go pack up, go home, you're through.
Who? What the
Yeah,
hell are you
You.
talking about? That's what I just said.
Yes.
the only way you
What the
can
hell
get
are
out
you
of
talking
here.
about?
Very good, I did great in casting you as Toma. Kaim has chosen the thinnest part of the enemy's encirclement. Of course, there is no guarantee that getting through here will save him. From now on, Toma will have to believe in his own luck and abilities.
Are you coming too?
Toma asks.
No, I'm going back. You escape alone.
Why? You come too. Let's both escape. Come with me.
No,
He knows what he's doing,
no,
jackass.
I won't, because you're annoying as fuck.
Also, I have cheat codes on, so don't worry.
Yeah, I have an
Yeah, I guess so.
I have an invincibility game genie cheat. So Toma clings to Kaim's arm as he pleads with him, but Kaim gives him a hard slap on the cheek. The flesh of that cheek is too soft to belong to a veteran warrior. It is the flesh of a boy, a kid.
You go alone.
But why?
To live, that's why.
What about you? You want to live too, don't you? You should run away with me. You don't want to die, do you?
I mean, you really are assuming that everyone who's experienced there is going to die. Thanks to the vote of confidence, kid.
It's the desperation talking. Want to live? No. Kaim has no great desire to live. He lives because there is nothing else he can do. He lives because he has to. Toma is far too young. His own burden of life far too fragile for him to know the pain of such a life. And there's Kaim brooding there.
We live to fight. That's what mercenaries do.
There's
Get the hell out of here. You're ruining it for the rest of us.
You guys
Yeah.
will never win this battle, so why not run away?
It's our job to fight.
With that, Kaim turns on his heels and starts back the way they came. Toma stands there, watching Kaim move away, and a moment later he himself darts into the western forest. I love that.
Thank you, Toma. Any more and they would have lynched you anyway.
I love that, Ricard. You're ruining it for the rest of us. To fight or to flee, Kaim cannot know which holds out the greater promise for life. He also believes it is better not to know. Except,
I hope you make it, boy.
he mutters, walking on. The eastern sky is beginning to brighten little by little. Soon the enemy's all-out attack will begin. So Kaim Kaim actually did mechanics and saved them, basically.
You know, oh, go on.
From the western forest, a few birds take to the air. Perhaps it means that a small-scale battle has started in the silence, or that the poor young mercenary has been felled with his back to the enemy. Kaim does not look back or break his stride. He feels certain that he has seen that Talkative mercenary before. Before the war broke out, the boy was selling fruit in the market along the highway. He was a good boy, took good care of his mother. The women of the market were saying, "Live a long, full life," Kaim wishes for the boy as he himself walks on, glaring at the lightning eastern sky.
Maybe it was due to how he performed that, but honestly, I kind of found that to be one of the more funny memories.
Well, to be fair, it's even left with an ambiguous ending. We do not know if Toma genuinely will survive or not this.
I guess the ironic thing is that
And the lesson, kids, is, his lesson is, kids, don't fantasize about stuff like that. It's never really pretty as you think.
Nope.
Yeah. I will say this, it's interesting that, ironically, if anyone's at risk of dying, it seems more like it's Toma than the mercenaries, because they actually seem to know what they're doing. But,
again,
in spite of
go
the ambiguous ending, that was, again, one of the more, I'd say, uplifting of the dreams, at least for me, anyway.
Sure. Again, you can tell that this guy is a novel writer because he knows how to craft compelling characters by just using text.
It's interesting also because he does it in a way that it doesn't feel out of place in the game, in the sense that even though it's a completely different writer, this feels like writing that belongs in this game, if that makes sense.
It's the primary way that they use to flesh out Kaim, because Kaim, of course, it's all about his past and his experiences and how this life of 1,000 years is not all that pretty. And these dreams basically give him a shit ton of backstory that further shows why he is the way he is. He has completely apathetic about life because he has seen the worst of life, he has seen the best of life. There's nothing left for him to see. To him, there's not even any reason to live anymore for the most part. So
I will say, I'm surprised I don't hear about this game more often. It seems like a pretty good one.
It's because, remember, this game came out on the Xbox 360, which is not exactly a platform you think of when you think JRPGs, obviously.
Also, for the context, back around this time, most RPGs were released on the 360 because the PS3 had such a terrible initial line, set of years, and as it was going on, it was more focusing on shooters and platforming or open world, like say Infamous or Uncharted, while still possibly moving itself out of RPGs. So a lot of companies, particularly Square Enix and Namco, were flocking onto the 360 for their titles like Eternal Sonata or Infinite Undiscovery.
Yeah,
I see. That would make sense. It's weird because, granted, maybe Blue Dragon doesn't get talked as much, but I do feel like Blue Dragon was something I definitely heard more of.
In fact, that's such a good idea, Joe. It might be because this is the game that he made right after Blue Dragon, and Blue Dragon really stunk up the place. Because
although to be fair, it's worth noting that Blue Dragon was also the game that got more promotion and a special bundle with the 360. As noted by the reviewer that me and Pedro has mentioned sporadically, this was kind of important because, as the 360, the Microsoft never had much of a foothold in Japan. So the box art of Blue Dragon, having the artwork here Toriyama, was a bit of a contrast with a lot of the games released for the system at the time, and packaging that in a bundle with the console was actually, a neat move that actually did have the console sell copies. Not obviously that much to be, a standing power, but it was the right move to do at that point.
And I suppose we have to give another credit to Blue Dragon. It had a literal dream team working behind it. Like, Sakaguchi is great, but it also had flipping Akira Toriyama on it. And Akira Toriyama's art style was something that even people who weren't into anime would recognize.
Oh yeah, well, that's one of the big reasons why Blue Dragon is such a disappointment and really sours the mouth of people like me and Teo, because this is a game that was created by Sakaguchi, with character designs by Akira Toriyama, with music by Nobuo Uematsu, and some of the key developers were members of the Chrono Trigger team. If there ever was a foolproof recipe for an amazing Japanese RPG, it's this one. And yet, the fact that the final product turned out to be such a mediocre to bad game is criminal. Is really criminal. Like this
as
game
many
should
as
have been.
Microsoft's
This game should have been
faults, from what I
far
can
better. In fact, actually, no, I'll let you finish first.
And for all Microsoft's faults, as far as I can tell, I don't think Microsoft were at fault for how Blue Dragon turned out.
No,
That was,
I doubt it.
That was, from what I understand, completely on Mistwalker, essentially.
As far as we know,
Whichever team Sakaguchi were having working on Blue Dragon.
if there were any kind of major development issues, we probably would have heard about them by now. I get the feeling probably was just a matter of that. I get the feeling that Sakaguchi put all his effort more on this one because both were developed at the same time. Because again, there's such huge contrast. Both games are such opposites of each other. Blue Dragon feels like a game that was made by one of those generic, unknown Japanese developers that's just making their first game or something, right? Whereas this game, the actual Sakaguchi's actual experience actually does show in this game. That's the weird part. The fact that both of these games are so monumentally different in quality.
I do wonder if the thought process was being wrong to begin with, but the case of Blue Dragon was supposed to be the more light-hearted experience for kids. One instead, this one was supposed to be the more mature experience, because remember, Blue Dragon was the one that they also tried to, franchises, because it received only DS, but it also received the anime adaptation, as a result. So I do wonder if it was a case of, because they thought it was going to be aimed at kids, they wanted to give it a more quote-unquote simplistic plot.
Oh, sure. And I would have had no problem with that. That's what Level 5 does. They make games for kids that have games, animes, and things.
My point was that thought process is what backfired because, having this thought process for a quote-unquote simplistic plot meant that it did not turn out as good as they wanted.
Oh, sure.
Probably.
Oh, sure. The big problem with the Blue Dragon's plot is not that it's simplistic, it's just that it's shit.
Okay, I do have another take.
Did I ask already the question when we commented on the game if you wouldn't take it over Final Fantasy 13?
It's no, I don't think you have asked me that question. It's difficult because both games are huge disappointments. I guess if I'm going to at the very least give Blue Dragon some credit, at least the gameplay has meat on its bones, at least. So there's that. It actually feels like a proper RPG with with content, and you can actually you actually have some degree of freedom of where and how you do things instead of just being stuck on a hallway for about 80% of the game. So there is that.
Also, when it comes to the ratio of the characters, you have only Maru to be completely annoying compared to most of the cast of 13, arguably.
Well, most of the characters, and Blue Dragon has a better battle system. Just by case of just being the traditional one that that's tried and true.
Also, as much as Nene and Destroy turn out to be not as potentially important, I probably would have taken them over the Super Pope, I guess.
Also, I will give Blue Dragon this. Eternity is a better boss theme than all the boss themes in 13. And mind you, I even like some of those boss themes.
And like I said, also the seal is broken, the final boss theme.
Yeah.
Also, one more take I have before we end this.
Sure, I have something too.
I do wonder if maybe part of the reason Sakaguchi flourished more with this game than Blue Dragon is, Blue Dragon was definitely something that was different from his norm, whereas, again, from all I've observed so far, Lost Odyssey feels like Final Fantasy just without the Final Fantasy name. Now, mind you, I'm not saying that automatically, a title change means he'll automatically do good, but it's not just the fact that it looks and walks like Final Fantasy. It, in a weird way, feels like Final Fantasy. I know that may sound weird to some because Final Fantasy has had tons of identities, but no, this feels like what a Final Fantasy game made at the time would have been like. And I wonder if maybe Sakaguchi went in with that mentality, which allowed him to make more of a slam dunk, essentially. Whereas Blue Dragon was, I'm going to guess, him going out of his comfort zone and trying, emphasis on trying, but maybe not succeeding with whatever he was trying to do with that plot.
Yeah, two things. One, that's the thing, Jova. I've always wondered, what if this game came out first? Because the Blue Dragon was such a fucking piece of turd that really made me just not have any hope in Japanese RPGs for the 360. Whereas Lost Odyssey,
it does also have sometimes the delayed impact effect where something that's terrible might sell well, but as a result of that thing being terrible, subsequent projects obviously won't do so good in other people's eyes, essentially.
The only thing I have to say about your assumption too is that being said, and yeah, I appreciate that. The thing is, if Sakaguchi should know better that even if you're making something for kids as the target audience, that doesn't justify how poorly you've conceived this. And to give you an idea, Jove, again, before Ni no Kuni 1 came out in 2013, unlike most times when I'm always excited for a level 5 game, I was actually very cautiously optimistic at the time before that game came out, because, I've been through this song and dance. Will this be another Blue Dragon where this dream team of people is going to screw up? Fortunately, that wasn't the case, because fortunately Hino has a good head on his shoulders. But man, like, that game should have been, Blue Dragon should have been so much better.
I'm curious, with Sakaguchi's experience now under his belt, do you think a potential remake of Blue Dragon could turn out to be better?
Maybe, but that whatever. It's just speculation. Maybe yes, maybe no. I could possibly tell you. Anyway, we've dragged this on long enough, everybody. See you for the next part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See it.